And the O.J. Simpson trial, that showed the whole world that we still have a long way to go to bridging the racial gap that divides us.
O.J. Simpson was guilty. He got off because the jury was almost all black. If he had been tried where the crime had occurred, it would have been a completely different story. But the DA there bowed to political pressure and had the case moved to a place where O.J. could beat the rep, and he did. What a disgrace. The jury had already decided O.J. would walk.
Do you know what you're saying? Do you actually hear yourself talking? This is exactly what I'm talking about. You're saying that a black jury acquitted him because O.J. was black, while a white jury would have convicted him because he was black.
No way. That black jury was prejudiced, period. And they talk about white people being biased.
I watched that case on TV, and Frank, you may not like what I'm going to say, but I would have found him not guilty too.
Are you for real? That trial was a travesty of justice.
Not really. Evidence wasn't properly handled. One of the detectives was caught in a lie. The glove didn't fit. Don't you think that may have given the jury sufficient grounds for reasonable doubt?
Those were minor errors which in no way negated the ton of evidence pointing directly to Simpson. They chose to ignore that like none of that mattered.
What about reasonable doubt, Frank? Reasonable doubt!
Well, they got their way, but at least Simpson is behind bars now.
I read somewhere that something like 2/3 of prisoners in jails are African American.
Well, they commit the crime, so they gotta do the time. If they didn't break the law, they wouldn't be in trouble.
And you really think things have changed?
For them, yes. Come on, didn't the election of our current president prove that?
Yes, his election was a huge landmark in American history, but still the problem of race persists. It's like an irritant that never goes away. Sometimes it recedes into the background, but then it comes roaring back to torment us.
Your pessimism is beginning to disturb me.
Don't you mean my realism? I mean, do you think white people accept blacks as equals? We live in the United States, but are we really united?
Well, there were plenty of blacks in the military when I served. You have black politicians in positions of political leadership. You have black movie stars winning the biggest awards, and must I mention to you black athletes? So what is the problem?
I'm not denying that there's been progress over the years, but it seems that whenever we're just about ready to close that racial divide, something happens to drive us apart.
Well, if anyone is driving us apart, it's them, not us. I believe in live and let live. But whenever something bad happens to them, they immediately start crying, racism, racism. Like when a black person is arrested by the police and the guy is a little roughed up, they think it's because of his race, when maybe it's just because the guy was refusing to cooperate.
Yes, but Frank, how come such cases again and again involve black men and not white? Don't you think that's more than just a coincidence?
No, it's not more than just a coincidence, because they're doing something to attract the attention of the police, and not because they're being targeted.
So what you're saying is that blacks commit crimes and whites don't?
Don't be cute with me. I didn't say that. Of course white people commit crimes, but you don't hear them screaming racism, do you?
Now don't you be cute with me. Please show me a case where a white person was incarcerated because he's white. Racism is insidious. It's something that takes different forms. Sometimes it's hard to detect, but it's there.
You're sounding a little paranoid, and you're not even black. I mean, are you black?
No, I'm not black. And what does that have to do with anything anyway?
You're sounding more and more like one of those white liberals who are on some kind of guilt trip over the alleged mistreatment of blacks and racial minorities, as if white people never had it rough.
I'm just trying to explain why I think racism is still a huge problem in this country.
Everything would be all right if everyone would just stop complaining and just live and let live.
That's easy for you to say when you're not being profiled and labeled or stereotyped. But try being in the other guy's or gal's shoes. You might start singing a different song.
I'm Italian, and Italians have been discriminated against too, but you don't hear me complaining, do you? I mean, look at the movies. We're portrayed as gangsters, shakedown artists, con men, and murderers, the scum of the earth.
But being stereotyped is worse for racial minorities.
Worse? From what I can see, most blacks seem to be doing quite well, at least as good as me, and for many, a lot better.
But that doesn't mean they're immune from the effects of racism.
What racism? They can buy houses wherever they want, work wherever they want, and what about affirmative action? Didn't that open up a lot of doors for them?
It did, but that doesn't mean that the problem's been solved. All it means is that some of the more glaring inequalities are finally being eliminated to a certain extent. And a lot of that depends on the strength of the economy. But no matter what, blacks are still viewed differently than other groups, even though they're more prosperous now than in the past.
Why do you keep sticking up for them?
Because I believe in the American creed of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But for all, not just for some. Remember, this country was built by slaves who were brought here against their will. And now we have to deal with the legacy of 3 centuries of injustice. It's like with Germany and the Jews. People say that the war ended a long time ago, and that's why the subject of the Holocaust still needs to be discussed. But that's just a way to avoid dealing with the problem of anti-Semitism.
I agree that there's still a gulf between whites and blacks in this country, but I really believe you're overstating the situation.
Am I? If anything, I'm understating it. Racial bigotry is alive and well. Maybe we don't hear about lynchings anymore, but oppression can occur in other ways. It's like the idea of last hired, first fired, or being associated with certain diseases, or the prevalence of out-of-wedlock births, or being subjected to racial profiling, like that college professor was in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Do you think the police would have arrested him if he had been white?
Well, I never had any problems dealing with blacks. In fact, I've had a lot of black friends.
And where are they now?
I lost touch with them over the years. I remember when I was going to college, I became friendly with this young black girl, a student at the school. We used to go for lunch together during class breaks, and I really enjoyed her company. I was thinking about asking her out on a date, but I didn't. Then the following semester, our class schedules changed, and we stopped running across each other. I lost touch with her, and sometimes I wonder whatever happened to her.
A young, pretty black woman enters the scene.
Ellie, hi. I was thinking of you.
I hope they were nice thoughts.
About you, they could only be nice. Have you studied for tomorrow's exam?
I've done some studying. How about you?
Well, I hate to admit this, but I haven't even looked at my class notes.
So how do you expect to pass?
To tell you the truth, I don't know.
Didn't you tell me you need to pass that class to graduate?
Yeah, I know, but I've been having a hard time concentrating lately.
What's the problem?
Nothing much. Forget I even mentioned it.
No, Frank, tell me. I want to know.
Okay. You know, ever since we started meeting in between classes, I've really gotten to like you.
Frank, I didn't know that.
And I've been wanting to ask you out on a date.
So, why haven't you?
Because I don't know what you would say.
Of course you wouldn't know, silly, you haven't asked.
Man, I know that all this sounds ridiculous coming from me, Mr. Macho Man.
Look, Frank, I'd love to go out with you.
You would?
Of course, I like you a lot.
Even though I'm white?
I don't care about that.
I mean, that's okay with you.
It's no problem for me, but it sounds like it's a problem with you.
Don't get me wrong, Ellie. I really do like you, but, you know, what would other people say?
Who cares what other people would say?
Maybe you're right.
Maybe I'm right, Frank. I'm black. And that's all there is to it. And if you can't accept that, then I don't know what else I can say.
Ellie, really, I do like you. It's just that I don't know what to do.
Oh, brother, you do have a problem, and it's not me.
I can't help the way I feel. I never went out with a black girl before.
Now you're making it sound like I'm some type of freak. All you see is my skin color and a chance for some easy action. Well, honey, you barked up the wrong tree.
That's not true.
It is true. All you white people are the same. We try to be nice, and look what happens. You ruin everything. I told my girlfriends about you, and they warned me to look out. But I told them you were different. Wow, was I wrong?
Please, let me explain.
You said enough. I'm out of here.
Ellie, come back.
You never told me about this before. It's too bad, though. Seems that you liked her. She being black have anything to do with you not asking her out on a date?
It probably did. At the time, if I brought home a black girl to my mother, if I brought home a black girl, my mother would have fainted and my friends would have been shocked. But that's why I was conditioned, and I never tested the waters, and I've been single ever since.
What a shame. We all have stories like that, lost opportunities that come back to haunt us. I told you about the guy I was engaged to for 4 years. My parents didn't like that he wasn't Jewish. He put a lot of pressure on me to end the relationship. And after 4 years, that's exactly what happened. It might have made my parents happy, but it left me with a huge, gaping, emotional donut hole that I just can't fill.
It's terrible what we do to ourselves.
Yes, it is. It's like in that movie, West Side Story, when Tony and Maria fall in love, and look what happens to them. Tragedy. That's what racism does. It kills. And there the characters aren't even black, but the result is the same. Ugh.
But life does go on, and we gotta make the best of it.
I know you're trying to be nice, but what you're saying is pure claptrap, mere platitude. Of course we have to go on, but it still hurts. And if this is how I feel, then I can only imagine how a black person, any black person must feel, living in a society that so cruelly divides and alienates people. Sometimes I try to imagine myself being black. I wonder if people would treat me the same. I wonder if you would still treat me the same.
Come on, Paula. This is all speculation.
I know, but let's say I was black. How would you feel?
It wouldn't bother me a bit.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but that girl that you met in school, it bothered you then, so why would it be any different now?
Because maybe I'm a little older and a little bit wiser.
More platitudes. Racism is a feeling. It's not something that just disappears with time.
So what do you want me to say? Everything I say is wrong, so why even bother asking me?
Because I'm trying to make a point.
Which is?
That racism is so deeply ingrained in us that no matter what we do, we can't get out from under it.
First, speak for yourself. And second, you better move on to another subject because you're beginning to depress me and yourself.
Frank, what did I do? How did I ever let him go? I really cared about him. Cared. I wanted to marry him, have children with him. But everybody said, no, don't do it. You'll be miserable. And I believed them. What an idiot I was. An idiot. Oh.
Paula, I want you to calm down.
Frank puts his arm around Paula and holds her tight. Paula is crying on his shoulder.
I know the feeling because I've been there myself. It's horrible.
Frank is stroking Paula's hair and kissing her lightly on her cheek. Paula starts to regain control.
This is what racism does to you. What it did to me. It devastated me. My family thought they were doing right, but all they were doing was projecting their bigotry through me. They would say, Paula, you know he's not Jewish, and Paula, he's okay, but he's a goy. Oh, and Paula, we want you to meet a nice Jewish man, a doctor or a lawyer, but not someone like him. He's not good enough for you. You see, racism, it's not just about skin color. Do you know that I haven't spoken to my mother in 6 months?
Why?
Because we're estranged. I can't talk to her because whenever I call her, all I hear are complaints about me. I couldn't take it anymore.
I really don't know what to tell you.
Don't tell me anything. Just hold me, be with me, and love me. Really love me. I don't want to be alone, ever.
Frank and Paula embrace and kiss passionately as the lights fade. Into Act 2. Act 3, Scene 1. Time, the present. Place, a bedroom. Frank and Paula are in bed, sleeping together. Jim and Mabel are standing on either side of the bed. They are ghosts who can be seen and heard only by the audience.
I didn't know white people could get so emotional.
You know better than that. I think they're nice. Especially the lady.
I can't feel sorry for them. It's their own attitude that got them into trouble. So good for them. And I hope they learned their lesson.
That's so mean. Why are you being so hard on them? You sounded like a preacher. Who are you anyway to be judgmental? You never made mistakes?
I made plenty of mistakes, but I never got all worked up on them like they did.
Well, maybe you should have gotten worked up. Might have done you some good.
Don't trifle with me.
Stop being so prideful. That's how all these problems start. People thinking that they're better than they actually are.
I don't think I'm better than anybody.
Don't make me laugh. I've seen you strutting around like a big tom turkey trying to impress people. Well, you don't impress me.
Who said I wanted to impress you? I'm just a regular guy who enjoys the simple things in life. Not like these folks here. White people. I just can't figure them out.
Yeah, that's what they say about us. I would have thought things would have been different by now.
Things are different. Look at all the black movie stars, athletes, and politicians. They're famous, admired, making millions of dollars. People respect them. No more being second-class citizens. Now we're in charge.
They're just tokens put out there to pacify us, to make us think we're really accepted, but it's all a charade. The system wants to survive, and will make whatever accommodations it must to keep on going. You watch. If our current president screws up just one time, he'll be chased out of town so fast he won't even have time to pack his bag. And it won't even matter that he's the president. All people will think is he's just another black man in trouble. It's that old double standard.
Screw that double standard. The fact is, we made it to the big time, and now we can cash in and live the American dream.
Everything is money to you? Don't you know when you've been being bought off?
Well, if they're willing to pay, I'll take the money. No problem.
And you think things have changed. You're pathetic.
Well, what am I supposed to think? 70 years ago, we was being treated like dirt and getting paid peanuts. At least we're getting paid more money.
But that money just buys you headaches. Because sooner or later you screw up and then the money means nothing. And people say, you see, give them the money, give them everything they want, and they still can't cut it. That's racism.
No, it's not. That's acting stupid.
Look, Jim, remember when you said that one day a black man would issue another Emancipation Proclamation? Well, that man arrived, and look what happened to him. He was shot, just like Lincoln. And what about that man in Los Angeles when the police pulled him over on some traffic infraction and then beat him up with clubs and kicked him viciously? You think that wasn't racism?
I know, Mabel. Because we was there watching, and I hated what I saw. There was nothing we could do. Nothing.
I know. So things really haven't changed all that much. But there still is hope.
How can you still believe that?
Because when I see these two good people, and millions more just like them, all across the country struggling with the same issues that we're struggling with, want to make our country a better place in which to live, I can believe that better days are yet to come.
Jim and Mabel exit. Paula wakes up, and then wakes up Frank. Frank kisses Paula.
Oh, what is it, babe?
I have the strangest feeling that somebody was in this room.
You must have been dreaming.
I guess you're right. Frank,
What is it?
I just want to let you know that I love you.
I love you too.
Paula and Frank hug each other tightly. Jim and Mabel reappear and stand next to the bed, observing Paula and Frank.
For God has commanded that every lofty mountain and that the age-old Devon Gorge be filled to level ground.
Where's that from?
It's from the Bible, from the book of Baruch, chapter 5, line 1 to 9.
What does it mean?
It means that there's still hope. Hallelujah!
And hallelujah to you.
Lights go out. End of Act 3, Scene 1. Act 3, Scene 2. Time, the present. Place, a room.
We're strangers to each other, but sometimes lovers too. We're all part of a rainbow, with colors bright and true. We're people going places, but time is rushing by. We gotta go on living. We laugh and sometimes cry. We get upset and angry, and sometimes even fight. There's just a waste of effort in the thing that we call life. We're strangers to each other, but sometimes lovers too. We're all part of a rainbow, with colors bright and true.
No more injustice.
No more strife.
No more sexism.
No more racism.